Okay, thanks for that.
5 o'clock is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, former Trump rivals take the stage at the RNC to bring a message of unity. And Elon Musk is now bringing all his exes to Texas. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Wednesday, partly cloudy, a high in the upper 90s. Tonight's low in the upper 70s. Right now, where it's 80 degrees. Well, it's a wrap for day 2 of the RNC, and former President Trump received a huge endorsement from a former opponent. Fox's Aja Hasmi has more on Decision 2024.
A huge, loud applause, a standing ovation as the former president got a big endorsement and a big show of support from a former opponent, Nikki Haley.
Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
We are told that Trump actually changed around his schedule to come and watch her speak in person, a big unity moment, according to the campaign. Haley, who polls show is favored by independents across the country, talked about the war on Ukraine, saying Putin did not invade while Trump was in office. She talked about Iran, saying that Iran was afraid to start anything when Trump was in office. And she also talked about the border, saying that it was much safer under Trump.
And Texas Senator Ted Cruz also spoke yesterday.
As a result of Joe Biden's presidency, your family is less safe. Your children are less safe. The country is less safe. But here's the good news. We can fix it. And when Donald Trump is president, we will fix it.
Today, Governor Abbott is expected to speak at the RNC, and Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, will also take the stage. Meantime, Congress is set to receive more information today about the weekend shooting that injured the former president.
Both the Senate and the House will receive virtual unclassified briefings from representatives of the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the Secret Service. The meetings are virtual as many members are not on Capitol Hill this week due to the Republican National Convention. As the investigation into Saturday's events and attempted assassination of President Trump continues, so does the pressure on Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle. She is vowed to stay on and is set to appear next Monday at a hearing before the House Oversight Committee, chaired by Kentucky Republican Congressman James Comer. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
Meantime, Milwaukee police say an armed man wearing a ski mask was arrested near the RNC on Monday. Officials said the man was first noticed by U.S. Capitol Police just blocks away from Fiserv Forum. The officers determined the suspect had a gun in his backpack while not having a concealed carry permit. The man's motive has not been determined. Security at the RNC has been ramped up following the assassination attempt on Trump. Well, all of Elon Musk's exes will now live in Texas.
The billionaire is moving his social media company X from San Francisco to Austin. He's also moving the headquarters of SpaceX from California to South Texas. Glenn Hammer, who heads the Texas Association of Business, expects other tech firms to follow.
That's pretty much an iron law when you have a major corporate relocation.
The move away from the Golden State was in response to a new law which prohibits schools from telling parents if their child starts using different pronouns in class. Musk says he warned the governor of California that laws like this would force families and companies to leave. Michael Board, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
The San Antonio Zoning Commission is opposed to a proposed buffer zone around the Toyota plant on the city's south side. The proposed industrial compatibility overlay district would restrict commercial and residential development around the plant. In yesterday's meeting, the commission heard from the city and from local residents about the proposed zone and voted against it. The final decision belongs to City Council. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court has granted a stay of execution for a Texas death row inmate. Stephen Pickering has more.
47-year-old Ruben Gutierrez was convicted of killing 85-year-old Estolastica Harrison at her home in Brownsville in 1998 and was sentenced to death. The Texas Department of Criminal Justice was just about 20 minutes away from carrying out the sentence on Tuesday when word came down the U.S. Supreme Court had issued a stay of execution. They want time to consider whether they should actually review his appeal request. Lawyers for Gutierrez say DNA tests on evidence would help prove his innocence. Prosecutors say Gutierrez gave a confession in which he admitted to planning the robbery and said he was inside her home when she was killed.
And the Houston area death toll from Hurricane Beryl is at 11. 3 people were killed by falling trees, including 2 in their homes and 1 on a tractor clearing debris in Montgomery County. 2 people drowned in their cars, including a Houston Police Department employee who was trying to get to work. Other deaths in Southeast Texas bring Beryl's total to 18. Over 53,000 Houston residents remain without power. Well, a country singer is speaking out after her performance at MLB's Home Run Derby received poor reviews on social media.
Country singer Ingrid Andress says she was drunk during her performance of the national anthem during MLB's Home Run Derby on Monday. The 32-year-old posting on her social media that she will be checking into a rehab facility to get the help she needs, adding, quote, "That was not me last night. I apologize to MLB, all the fans, and this country I love so much for that rendition." Her performance getting bad reviews online, with one user calling it, quote, "one of the worst national anthems I think I've ever heard in my whole life." Tony Genualdo, Fox News.
It is 5:06, news at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy, traffic and weather coming up.
Good morning, everybody. Randy Beamer will be in studio beginning around 6 o'clock in less than an hour. Good to see you. Welcome in. Let's see. I see Rooster, Sam, Travis, Ray, Tommy Miller. Welcome in, everybody. It's actually a Beamer on a Wednesday. Is today Wednesday? Today's Wednesday. But close. Yeah, we're going to have Randy here today, tomorrow, and the next day. So he's a big part of our RNC coverage. Welcome into this beautiful day, Wednesday, July 17th, 2024, day number 3 and night number 3 of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. 9 days until the Victor Wembanyama Olympics in Paris, 33 days until the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, 52 days until Taylor Swift's boyfriend opens up the NFL season against the Baltimore Ravens, 55 days until the second presidential debate, and 111 days until the 2024 election. Mr. T, Tim Merriman, is off today. Randy Beamer will be in studio in about less than an hour, about 6 o'clock. Charity McCurdy, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. I was actually greeted by a family of raccoons upon showing up to the radio ranch this morning. So that was a welcome surprise.
That happened to me once, and I park kind of where you do, and right around the corner of the building. It wasn't a family. One raccoon, I'm going back out to my car, and one raccoon just stops in his tracks when he sees me, and we have a little bit of a staring contest, and then he slowly started backpedaling to behind the building again. What did you see?
I saw like a mama raccoon with at least 4 babies, and it was just absolutely adorable. And I just went into like cutesy mode. Like I talked to my cats, like, "Hi, little guy." I actually got it on video.
Oh, cool.
Just because my kids love raccoons. There's a cartoon they watch called Mighty Mike, and it features raccoons, and yeah, they're all about it. And my son wants to have a pet raccoon. I keep telling him no. It's not going to happen.
That could be troublesome.
Yes.
Well, I hope to see that video. That sounds like a great video of the raccoons.
I should probably post it. Yeah.
Yes, you should.
Okay.
I'd love to see it. All right. Cool. Well, I'll tell you what, let's get this party started with traffic and weather together. Your Weather Channel forecast: partly cloudy today with a high around 97, overnight lows in the mid to upper 70s, 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms tomorrow with a high of 95, and a chance of morning thunderstorms on Friday. Right now, 77 in Kerrville, 78 in New Braunfels. It is clear and 80 with some raccoons around at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news. Charity McCurdy, night number 2, a big night at the Republican National Convention. Nikki Haley certainly lived up to the theme of unity that the Republican National Convention is putting out there this week, as she gives her strong support, in her words, to former President Donald Trump. And we've played some of the audio. We'll play more this morning. She says, I know a lot of people who don't agree with everything he says, but you don't have to agree with everything he says or all of his positions to vote for him.
Yeah, and I think it was a strong speech by the former South Carolina governor and UN ambassador. I feel like by Trump inviting her to speak at the RNC really gave Nikki Haley a political lifeline when you think about it. She's really drawn a lot of hatred and criticism from the Republican Party after she challenged former President Trump in the presidential election. So I think her future is looking brighter after being invited to the RNC by Trump, and Trump reportedly rearranged his schedule to be there for her speech.
Yeah, that's a big thing. That was a big gesture on his part. We will talk all things Republican National Convention, and we'll talk more about more things we're learning about that assassination attempt on former President Trump over the weekend in Butler, Pennsylvania. In fact, we want to hear your comments about what you're hearing so far about that assassination attempt. We'll talk about that coming right up. WOAI News Time 516. Travis, Tommy, Kemper is in here. Good morning, Kemper. Sam, Jacob C. Hernandez, good morning. Rooster. Oh, I can now, I'm looking at this on a PC instead of my MacBook. On my MacBook, I can't scroll up and see previous comments. Now I can, which is cool. Charity just sent me the video of the raccoons. I'm going to take a look at that. Wow, there they are. Raccoon video. You probably can't see it from that distance. Randy Beamer in less than an hour, due in around 6 a.m. He'll be in studio. No coffee, just drinking water this morning. And I'm actually, show you how weird I am. I began a fast last night. I mean, it's like, I just started, but I'm hoping to take this into Saturday morning, which would be around 100 hours total. So no caffeine, no alcohol, no food, nothing but water for the next 3.5 days. Yeah, it's just water, Sam. Some days I might put something more impactful in that. Good morning, Frankie. Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together, then we're going to talk about the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump and what we're hearing thus far. And we are going to ask you about that as well. But first, Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
Once bitter rivals, two GOP heavyweights came out in support of former President Trump on day 2 of the Republican National Convention. Today, Governor Abbott is expected to speak at the RNC, and the city of Austin will soon be the new home of X, formerly known as Twitter. We'll have details coming up right now, traffic and weather together.
Your Weather Channel forecast, partly cloudy today with a high in the upper 90s, overnight lows in the upper 70s. Tomorrow, 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms with a high of 95. Friday, a chance of morning thunderstorms. Right now, 79 in Alamo Heights, 78 in Leon Valley. It is clear, and 80 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news. She's Charity McCurdy. Mr. T has the day off. Randy Beamer will be in studio right around 6 o'clock and throughout the rest of the morning with us. We're excited to have Randy Beamer in studio after his trek into New Mexico and beyond. Charlie Parker in the next hour with Those Were the Days. EJ Pacheco and Andrew Zimmel flying the Millennium Falcon, doing the heavy lifting, and Andrew Zimmel directing our online video stream. You can see us and interact with other people in a live real-time chat. Go to YouTube, look for 1200 WOAI. You will find us there. Charity, with each day, we learn more about the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump on Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania. And it just gets weirder, and there seem to be more questions. And the more we learn, Charity, the more I am stunned by how law enforcement, both the Secret Service and local law enforcement, dropped the ball in such a big way.
Yeah, again, that where the gunman was on that roof was the staging area for police, and the Secret Service, I guess the latest is they're blaming the sloped roof for not putting a sniper team on that building. Again, we've heard the head of the Secret Service say that, it was unacceptable, the handling of it, and the buck stops with her. There's going to be hearings today. Senators are going to be briefed by federal agencies on the handling of that attempted assassination on former President Trump. But again, more questions than answers. You would think that they didn't know what they were doing, that this was their first rodeo.
And another stunning, part of this to me is the rooftop on which the sniper, the shooter, climbed and fired off his shots. There were police officers. There was law enforcement in that building. That building was a staging area for law enforcement. So he's climbing on the very roof where there's plenty of cops there that could have taken him out. Then there's that story about the one officer who climbs onto the top of the building. Reportedly the shooter turns around, aims the AR-15 at the police officer, who then climbs down again, and then seconds later the shots rang out. Just so many strange aspects to this story.
Really. And I think that ultimately there's going to be a call for the director of the Secret Service, Cheadle, to step down. I think her reasoning and her answers are not going to suffice because, again, we're talking about a former president and a potential future president. It's unacceptable. And I'm sure there's going to be more campaign appearances for Trump moving forward. And, we can't risk this happening again. We already are hearing reports about that close call about a man wearing a ski mask arrested near the RNC earlier this week. And he had a gun in his backpack. And who knows what he's planning on doing.
All right, so we want to hear from you on this one on our Talkback feature. How do you feel about the information we're hearing thus far about the assassination attempt on former President Trump on Saturday? Are you satisfied with the facts you're hearing? Do you think there's a whole lot more that is not being reported? We just want to take your temperature and hear how you feel about what we have learned thus far. Charity, how do they get us that information?
The free iHeartRadio app. You search 1200 WOAI, you hit that red talkback button, and 30 seconds to let us know if you're satisfied what you've been told so far about that Trump rally shooting.
And we'll play your comments on the air coming up. Randy Beamer will join us at the top of the hour. Charity McCurdy coming right up at the bottom of the hour with all the big stories you need to know about on this Wednesday morning. Before that, right now, your Fox Business Report, WOAI News Time 525. Kemper, Rooster, Jacob, Tommy, Frankie. Did I say Travis? I might have. Welcome in, everybody. on a Wednesday. We heard the story and we'll probably address it. Ingrid Andress, who I had never heard of before she did the god-awful rendition of the national anthem before the home run derby. She was drunk. She admits she was drunk. She says she's going to go into rehab, clean herself up. You're a professional singer. You're 32 years old. I know a lot of people have alcohol and substance problems, but how do you go out there when you're so incapacitated you cannot sing, which is your profession, the national anthem the way you should? Aren't you aware of that? Aren't you conscious of that? And if that's the case, even 3 minutes before the national anthem, do you not say, I can't go, I'm feeling sick, whatever you have to say, to not do that and make just such a spectacle of yourself? Kemper, I will let you know. I've done fasts before, but the longest one I had done was like 61 hours. So this one's going to be like a day. I'm starting a day earlier, so this will be closer to 100 hours. And again, I'm just trying to just do a reset and a cleanse, and everything I know about fasting. It gives your organs a rest. It helps reset your metabolism in your system. So 2 weeks, Sam, you are a madman. I can't even imagine 2 weeks. Female booms. Travis, I do not understand what you mean by that. Oh, I know what you... Okay. You're talking about Ingrid Andress. Okay. Now I get it. And Chuck Booms, yes. As you know, I have a lot of history with Chuck Booms, or had. It's been a long time. Charity McCurdy is coming up. For those of you who don't know, I was once on this radio station paired with a co-host named Chuck Booms. And I often tell people, I've never been to Vietnam. I did not serve in the Vietnam War. However, I think the closest thing I have to a Vietnam flashback is working with Chuck Booms. I'm assuming from the reference, Travis knows Chuck was a madman, literally, and a train wreck. And there are some stories I tell on the air and I tell in public, and there's a whole lot of stories I don't tell, just out of respect for another human being, which by definition he sort of qualifies for. But my God, that was maybe, yeah, I can't think of a lower point. That was like the lowest point in my radio career. All right. Charity's coming up, then Randy, and we're going to have fun till our daddy takes our T-Bird away. So I will back away and we'll go to Charity here with the news.
5:31 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, it's day 3 of the RNC with a message of Make America Strong once again. And Elon Musk is bringing X to Texas. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Wednesday, partly cloudy, a high in the upper 90s. Tonight's low in the upper 70s. Right now, 79 degrees. As our Decision 2024 coverage continues, once bitter rivals, 2 GOP heavyweights came out in support of Donald Trump at the Republican National Convention. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley took the speaker stage last night and immediately endorsed Trump. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders also took the stage.
Not even an assassin's bullet could stop him. God Almighty intervened because America is one nation under God, and he is certainly not finished with President Trump.
Meantime, the festivities continue today in Milwaukee. Here's more from Fox's Jeff Manasso.
Thousands of people here in Milwaukee chanting fight as former President Donald Trump made another appearance here days after surviving an assassin's bullet.
I have seen this man dragged through hell and back, in and out of courtrooms, indictments, impeachments, mugshots, and even an assassination attempt. And yet, he has never backed down.
The former president's daughter-in-law, RNC co-chair Lara Trump, the keynote speaker Tuesday. Today, on day 3 of the RNC, expect a full lineup, including a speech from the first millennial to join a presidential ticket, vice presidential nominee, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, with a theme, Make America Strong. Once again, at the RNC in Milwaukee, Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
And Texas Governor Greg Abbott is also expected to speak today at the RNC. As the FBI investigates the attempted assassination of Trump, we're learning about a separate plan by Iran to kill the Republican nominee. Here's Fox's David Spunt.
DHS and Secret Service and others in the law enforcement and intelligence community recently, through one very good human source, got some intel on an attempted plot to assassinate former President Trump, increased his Secret Service in recent weeks. DHS has been concerned and has expressed that concern to former President Trump's team about holding outdoor rallies.
U.S. intelligence officials say there's no connection between the Trump rally shooter and the alleged Iranian plot. The Secret Service is facing scrutiny from lawmakers after failing to prevent the shooting on Saturday. Today, senators will be briefed by federal agencies. Well, Jack Black has announced that his comedy rock band, Tenacious D, is ending its world tour after his bandmate, Kyle Gass, joked on stage about the assassination of Trump.
Happy birthday to you. Make a wish, Canada. Don't miss Trump next time.
Black wrote in a statement posted to Instagram that he was blindsided by what was said at the show. Gass has since apologized for the comment. Elon Musk is moving his social media company X from San Francisco to Austin. He's also moving the headquarters of his private spaceflight company from California to South Texas, which is a huge win for the state's high-tech sector.
The space economy over the next many years is going to be a booming industry, and it cements Texas as the space capital of America.
Glenn Hammer, who heads the Texas Association of Business, expects other tech firms to follow. The move away from the Golden State was in response to a new law there, which prohibits schools from telling parents if their child starts using different pronouns in class. For the second time in 4 years, in the case of a death row inmate from Brownsville, the U.S. Supreme Court has put a last-minute hold on his execution. Tim Sullivan has details.
Less than an hour before Ruben Gutierrez was to be given a lethal injection, the High Court late Tuesday afternoon approved his attorney's application for a stay of execution. Gutierrez's attorneys had argued that Texas wrongly denied his right to post-conviction DNA testing they claim would show Gutierrez was not in the mobile home at the time 85-year-old Escolastica Harrison was robbed and killed in September 1998. Prosecutors argue that Gutierrez should be put to death because he was convicted under the state's law of parties.
Well, San Antonio is experiencing a milder July this year than last. Highs this month have been close to average in the mid to upper 90s or even lower. Between July 12th and the 14th, highs were only in the 80s. In July of last year, temperatures were above 100 degrees for 15 days in a row, reaching as high as 106. There's also been slightly more rain this year, though rivers and reservoirs are still low after 2 years of constant drought. It is 5:37 now with breaking crime news from around the country. Here's Nancy Grace.
M1A1, good morning. Welcome in. Good morning to everybody on the live stream.
Traffic and weather together in a minute, but first, to check of your money and the world of business, we say good morning to Ed Corey live at the Bloomberg News Desk. All right, thanks, Ed. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
Very funny, Sam Tobias. If you smell what the original rock is cooking. San Antonio's First News. She's Charity McCurdy. I'm Chris Duell. Randy Beamer will be in studio around 6 o'clock, top of the hour. He'll join us the rest of the morning until 9 o'clock. In fact, he'll be with us all week long to cover the Republican National Convention. Randy, a big part of our Decision 2024 coverage. Charlie Parker in the next hour with Those Were the Days. EJ Pacheco and Andrew Zimmel flying the Millennium Falcon. And once again, Charity, last night, a big night on so many levels at the Republican National Convention. Of course, Nikki Haley was the headliner. We've talked about her just really choosing to accept Donald Trump's invitation. She spoke out of the gate about unity. She spoke about she is now giving a strong endorsement for Donald Trump. I just think so far, you look at how the Republican National Convention is playing out, I would give it a grade of an A so far. And from a theme of unity, I think it was essential for Nikki Haley to be part of this experience.
Absolutely. And this was someone that was against Trump, that challenged Trump, and really got a lot of hate from her fellow Republicans because she challenged the former president. But the fact that Trump invited her to speak, rearranged a schedule to be there for her speech, really does underscore the message of unity that the Republicans are trying to put forward. And it really is a genius move when you consider the Democrats on the other side of the political aisle are in disarray because many are not backing President Biden's re-election bid, although we haven't seen many Democrats come forward following the assassination attempt on Trump.
I thought Vivek Ramaswamy in his speech, top of his speech, had a funny line. He said, "A year ago tonight, I was running for president of the United States, and I have achieved the impossible. I've gotten most of you to know how to pronounce my name."
That's hilarious. And I'm sure he's vying for a spot in the Trump administration. We'll see where he lands.
I would think so. And I think, the fact that he was indeed invited to speak probably means, he's got a good shot at it. We heard from Steve Scalise, very interesting Steve Scalise, who was targeted in a political shooting at that congressional baseball game that they have. He gave a very passionate speech. He said, when he was wounded, one of the first people to visit him at the hospital was Donald Trump. He said that speaks volumes for Donald Trump's character.
Amazing. I mean, it's amazing that Trump has been able to get his once bitter rivals to come out in support of him. I feel like he's at the pinnacle of his re-election campaign right now.
Yeah, you mentioned bitter rivals. Ron DeSantis with a speech last night. Ted Cruz, we know they made up back after the 2016 race, but Ted Cruz, a big part of that. In fact, we'll play some Ted Cruz coming up in the program. Coming up, we will hear from you. We've been asking you on the Talkback feature on the free iHeartRadio app, how do you feel about what you know thus far about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump over the weekend in Butler, Pennsylvania? Coming up as well, we'll play flashback. We'll go back in time, try to figure out what year we land in. WOAI News Time, 5:45. Well, look at that. Mr. T is in here. Good morning, Mr. T. Cool to see Mr. T in here. Now, is that Tim Merriman or is it the original Mr. T? I mean, Mr. T is the actual Mr. T, but there is the original Mr. T who acted in Rocky III. I pity the fool. We miss you, Mr. T. We look forward to when you're back. Randy Beamer, I got a text from him. He's running a little late. He'll be here at 6:15. All right. All right, Mr. T, best of luck. Adios. It is time to go back in time. But what year will we land in? See if you can figure it out. We'll try to figure it out. Let's play flashback. Wow, I never knew Fantasia took a song to #1. That's pretty cool. I am clueless on this one, Charity. 02, 03, or 04?
Let's go 04.
04, I am with you. Let's find out. You are unstoppable. You've won like 7 in a row, Charity.
I
You
don't think
nailed
that
it.
many, but yeah.
Wow.
Who knew?
I am never playing Trivial Pursuit with you. I am telling you that.
As long as it's multiple choice, I'm good.
Well,
yeah.
You've been nailing it lately. That's amazing. What else are you following, Charity?
Well, day 3 of the RNC will feature Texas Governor Greg Abbott as well as Trump's running mate J.D. Vance. Elon Musk is looking to relocate 2 of his companies from California to Texas, and the U.S. Supreme Court has halted the execution of a Texas killer. We'll have the details coming up. Right now, traffic and weather together.
Your Weather Channel forecast, partly cloudy today with a high in the upper 90s, overnight low in the upper 70s. Tomorrow, a 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms with a high of 95. Friday, a chance of morning thunderstorms. Right now, 78 in Bernie, 79 at the Snake Farm. Right here, it's clear, 80 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's First News, Randy Beamer, will join us in the 6 o'clock hour. He'll be with us through the rest of the program until 9 o'clock this morning. We're looking forward to that. Charlie Parker in the next hour with Those Were the Days. And we'll go to Milwaukee, site of the Republican National Convention. We'll check in with White House correspondent John Decker. But this morning, we're asking you on the Talkback feature, are you satisfied with what you're hearing thus far about the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump over the weekend in Butler, Pennsylvania? Want to get your thoughts on the whole situation. Charity McCurdy, how do they let us know what they're thinking?
The free iHeartRadio app, you search 1200 WOAI, you hit that red circle, that's the talkback button, 30 seconds to sound off.
We got a few. Let's listen in. Let's start off with RK. Oh, RK cut off at the end. All right, let's go to Rooster. Well, and what that moment reminds me of, and how I heard that, Charity, was the officer was climbing toward the roof, and as he appeared on the roof, the gunman aimed that AR-15 at him. So the police officer kind of went down below as to not get shot, and then moments later, the gunman fired off his shots toward the president. It kind of reminded me of Uvalde.
Yeah, the fact that they waited obviously a lot longer before they engaged the gunmen, but clearly, as we mentioned all week long, a breakdown in communication.
Let's go to Danny. Danny with a talkback. Let's listen in. Danny cut off as well. That's two there, Danny and RK. Appreciate it, Danny. Let's do one more. Let's listen to Kemper. Yeah, you assume, Charity, that the Secret Service would have their act together, but we found out on Saturday a lot of problems with the way they handled security that day.
Yeah, and hopefully through these House and Senate investigations, they're able to get to the bottom of this and prevent this from happening again.
Keep them coming. We'll play them on the air. Randy Beamer will join us in the 6 o'clock hour. Charity McCurdy has everything you need to know right here coming up at the top of the hour. WOAI News Time, 5:57. All right. Hello, everybody on the live stream. Randy Beamer says he's running late. He says he'll get here about 6:15, which is fine. We're happy to have him. Kemper and Rooster, very good talkbacks. Appreciate it. Yeah, Rooster, that is a strange story. But, it's interesting. You think about all those police officers in Uvalde when the shooter had the AR-15, and you just got to wonder, are there moments when some people serving in law enforcement, will stand down in a moment when they feel they're outgunned, when the shooter has more firepower than they do? Charity's coming up in just a few here with all the news that you need to know. Then 6 o'clock hour, Randy will be in here about 6:15, he says. We'll play more talkbacks if they come in. We'll get a preview of tonight's J.D. Vance speech at the Republican National Convention from White House correspondent John Decker. He's going to join us at 6:40. 6:48 will be Those Were the Days with Charlie Parker. Possible, Travis. And again, it will be interesting as they do a full investigation and a full report to hear more details on things like that incident, like that event.
Six o'clock is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, former Trump rivals take the stage at the RNC to bring a message of unity. And Elon Musk is bringing all of his exes to Texas. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Wednesday: partly cloudy, a high in the upper 90s, tonight's low in the upper 70s, right now 79 degrees. It's a wrap for day 2 of the RNC, and former President Trump received a huge endorsement from a former opponent. Fox's Aisha Hasmi has more on Decision 2024.
A huge, loud applause, a standing ovation as the former president got a big endorsement and a big show of support from a former opponent, Nikki Haley.
Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
We are told that Trump actually changed around his schedule to come and watch her speak in person, a big unity moment, according to the campaign. Haley, who polls show is favored by independents across the country, talked about the war on Ukraine, saying Putin did not invade while Trump was in office. She talked about Iran, saying that Iran was afraid to start anything when Trump was in office. And she also talked about the border, saying that it was much safer under Trump.
And Texas Senator Ted Cruz also spoke.
As a result of Joe Biden's presidency, your family is less safe. Your children are less safe. The country is less safe. But here's the good news. We can fix it. And when Donald Trump is president, we will fix it.
Today, Governor Abbott will deliver remarks. Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, will also take the stage. Meantime, Congress is set to receive more information today about the weekend shooting that injured former President Trump.
Both the Senate and the House will receive virtual unclassified briefings from representatives of the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the Secret Service. The meetings are virtual as many members are not on Capitol Hill this week due to the Republican National Convention. As the investigation into Saturday's events and attempted assassination of President Trump continues, so does the pressure on Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle. She has vowed to stay on and is set to appear next Monday at a hearing before the House Oversight Committee, chaired by Kentucky Republican Congressman James Comer. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
And Milwaukee police say an armed man wearing a ski mask was arrested near the RNC earlier this week. Officials said the man was first noticed by U.S. Capitol Police just blocks away from the Fiserv Forum. The officers determined the suspect had a gun in his backpack. While not having a concealed carry permit, the man's motive has not been determined. Well, all of Elon Musk's exes will now live in Texas.
The billionaire is moving his social media company X from San Francisco to Austin. He's also moving the headquarters of SpaceX from California to South Texas. Glenn Hammer, who heads the Texas Association of Business, expects other tech firms to follow.
That's pretty much an iron law when you have a major corporate relocation.
The move away from the Golden State was in response to a new law which prohibits schools from telling parents if their child starts using different pronouns in class. Musk says he warned the governor of California that laws like this would force families and companies to leave. Michael Board, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
The San Antonio Zoning Commission is opposed to a proposed buffer zone around the Toyota plant on the south side. The proposed industrial compatibility overlay district would restrict commercial and residential development around the plant. In yesterday's meeting, the commission heard from the city and from local residents about the proposed zone and voted against it. The final decision belongs to city council. Well, a death row inmate has been given a last-minute reprieve. Brian Gann reports.
The execution of Texas death row inmate Ruben Gutierrez is indefinitely stayed after a last-minute intervention by the U.S. Supreme Court. Gutierrez was 20 minutes from his death by lethal injection last night for the murder of 85-year-old Escalestica Harrison in Brownsville. He was convicted more than 25 years ago and is now 47. Gutierrez and his attorneys claim DNA testing of evidence would exonerate him of the murder. Brian Gann, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Well, country singer Ingrid Andress says she was drunk when performing the national anthem at this week's Home Run Derby in Texas. In a post on X, Andress said she's checking herself into a rehab facility to get the help she needs. The country singer said that was not her, and she apologized to the MLB fans and the entire country. It is 6:06, news at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Traffic and weather coming up.
No love for my lip gloss? Adios, Kemper. All right, 6 o'clock hour. Randy should be in here at around 6:15-ish. See if I got any other. San Antonio's first news. She's Charity McCurdy. I'm Chris Duell. Mr. T is off today. He did jump in to the live chat in the 5 o'clock hour. Mr. T was there on our live chat on YouTube. Be sure to check that out. Go to 1200 WOAI on YouTube. You can find us. Big 6 o'clock hour. Randy Beamer will be in here a little bit later this half hour. Charlie Parker with Those Were the Days at 6:48. At 6:40, we'll go to Milwaukee, site of the Republican National Convention, talk to White House correspondent John Decker. He's got a preview of tonight's big speech by Vice Presidential nominee J.D. Vance. And coming up, she was drunk singing the national anthem. We'll talk a little bit about Ingrid Andress. But first, let's get you caught up on traffic and weather together. Your Weather Channel forecast, partly cloudy today with a high in the upper 90s, overnight lows in the upper 70s. Tomorrow, a 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms with a high forecast at 95. Friday, a chance of morning thunderstorms. Right now, it is 77 at Stinson Field, 79 at the Pearl. Here, it's clear and 80 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news. Well, we played each of them for you yesterday. The worst ever national anthem renditions at a public event. We played you Roseanne Barr. We played you Carl Lewis. We played you, who else? Fergie. We played you Fergie. Mm-hmm. And we determined that the worst ever just happened the night before. And right now that's 48 hours ago. Ingrid Andress at the Home Run Derby. In fact, before we talk about the latest development in the Ingrid Andress saga, EJ, Andrew, how about a little taste of her stylings, her musical stylings of the national anthem? Let's listen. Okay, so Charity, as you've been reporting, Ingrid Andress took to social media yesterday and said, "I was drunk." She did that. No wonder it was so bad. She was drunk out of her mind, and she says now she will go to rehab.
Yeah. The first few lines of her apology, I guess, worked. I mean, the first line is, "I'm not going to BS y'all. I was drunk last night. I'm checking myself into a facility today to get the help I need. That was not me. I apologize to the MLB, all the fans in this country I love so much for that rendition. I'll let y'all know how rehab is. I hear it's super fun. XO Ingrid." So that last line, she lost me.
Yeah, I hear it's super fun.
Yeah, that's the sarcasm is not really appropriate. I think it's an insult to people who are seriously dealing with alcohol addiction. I just don't think she won anyone over with that post.
And I know a lot of people have problems with alcohol. I know a lot of people have substance issues, but to go out there, and you're a singer, you're a professional singer. She's a 32-year-old country artist with 2 albums under her belt, and she's apparently now promoting another single. If you know you're drunk out of your mind, and it's the national anthem, most importantly, don't you even 3 minutes before the performance go, "I can't do it. I'm sick." Yeah, I mean, come up with anything not to go out there and humiliate yourself like that.
And you wonder if she has a drinking problem, or if it's one of those things where she started drinking in an attempt to calm the nerves, and if it just backfired. I don't know. And social media is absolutely brutal. I mean, there's people saying, "We're not believing you were drunk. You just can't sing. You were relying on auto-tune for your album." It's horrible. I hope if she is in fact dealing with alcohol addiction, she does get the help she needs, and more importantly, takes it seriously.
Amen to that. And, Americans, we love a redemption story. Maybe she comes back from this and somehow redeems herself, and maybe someday sings the national anthem and nails it. Wouldn't that be nice? All right, coming up, we will hear from Randy Beamer. He's going to be in studio for the rest of the morning with us. We're excited about that. And a big 6 o'clock hour coming at you. WOAI News Time, 6:16. All righty. I got a text from The Rock. I'm replying now. All right. Jacob, I didn't get a chance yet. It's on my list. I will. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance yesterday. Rooster, I am not sure if Mr. T caught a foul ball last night. Jacob, I'll try to watch it today, man. In fact, I'm going to text myself. It's real tough for me to watch it during the show because there's usually so much going on during the breaks. And that's why I try to do that when I get home. We are on Randy Watch. I'm watching the door to see if Randy Beamer walks in. He should be here any minute now. Randy Beamer is in the building. Woohoo! Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together. And Charity, I've got breaking news. Randy Beamer is in the building.
Ooh.
Woo!
Did he bring his Polar Pop?
Yeah, he does have a Polar Pop with him. We will discuss that and more coming up. But first, Charity, what stories are you following?
Well, former President Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, will headline tonight's speakers on day 3 of the RNC. A big boost for the state's tech sector as Elon Musk is bringing X headquarters to Austin. And tens of thousands of Houston area residents are still without power following Hurricane Beryl. Well, the very latest coming up right now, traffic and weather together.
Your Weather Channel forecast, partly cloudy today with a high or in the upper 90s, overnight lows in the upper 70s. Tomorrow, a 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms. Friday, a chance of morning thunderstorms. Right now, 77 in Kerrville, 78 at Tim Duncan's house. It is clear, and 80 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. We have a weather station at Tim Duncan's house. Randy Beamer is in a studio along with us. Charity McCurdy, I'm Chris Duell. If you want to see Randy, go to our live YouTube stream. Go to YouTube, look at 1200 WOAI.
Be disappointed right away.
He's Randy Beamer. He's the Elvis of San Antonio news anchors.
The later fatter Elvis, is that what you're saying?
No, you are 68 comeback special. You were in the black leather in the round.
Oh, good. I didn't like the white look.
Yeah. So not jumpsuit era. So my gosh, you are Jack Kerouac on the road. Taos, New Mexico.
I love that.
Santa Fe.
Charles Kuralt.
Roswell, New Mexico.
And Lubbock. After Terlingua, Uvalde, Marfa.
Wow.
All that stuff.
Did you see the Marfa lights?
You know, I have tried, but each and every time I've been there, I haven't. Have you?
I'm like you. I'm 0 for 3 in trying to see the Marfa lights.
Charity, are you a Marfanian?
Again, how can I call myself a Texan? I've never been to a Buc-ee's. I've never been to Marfa. What's going on? I know.
You would love Marfa.
You ain't from Texas.
Marfa is so good. Charity, you would absolutely love Marfa.
I bet I would.
Yeah.
I have to do a road trip or something.
So hipster. Although it has like an art gallery and the Texas Public Radio station, and I'm out there and I'm getting some shots, and there's a cattle truck right in front of it. So it's West Texas of all kinds.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not like a Marfa television show, like Fargo. I'm surprised there's not a Marfa.
You know who worked out there, and I didn't realize this, was Cheryl Scully, the former city manager, who was then most recently Brackenridge Park Conservancy president, interim. She worked out there from 2017 to 19.
I had no idea.
I did not know that. I did not know
I did not know that. Hi-oh. So how does it feel to be back?
Great to be back. It's one of those things where you appreciate San Antonio when you leave more. It's like I lived here for years, worked at Ken's, moved up to Denver, and appreciated more, wanted to come back. And I think that's one of the things that we have is we have some expats out there that are yearning to come back. You did that.
I had the same feeling. I lived in Los Angeles for 12 years, and I never fully appreciated San Antonio until I left. And I thought, we have such a wonderful city here. It's so easy.
It's more community oriented, more family friendly, and all that stuff. Whether or not the kids think there are enough young people out there to meet and get married to, but
I think we're getting hipper. I think downtown, the Pearl, I think it's all getting hipper for the kids.
Yeah. Plus they're meeting online anyway. So yeah.
dang kids.
Well, Randy is going to be on board with us for the duration until 9 o'clock this morning. And coming up at 6:40, White House correspondent John Decker from Milwaukee will preview tonight's speech from J.D. Vance, the vice presidential nominee at the Republican National Convention. WOAI News Time, 626. So I'm turning the mics on. Kay says good morning to Randy. Lots of people in here saying good morning.
Okay.
And then we'll cut to Charity here in a sec. And I'm going to, so it's Decker next.
Okay.
Here we'll go to Charity.
.30 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, it's day 3 of the RNC with a message of Make America Strong once again. And Elon Musk is bringing X to Texas. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Wednesday, partly cloudy, a high in the upper 90s. Tonight's low in the upper 70s. Right now, we're at 79 degrees. Former GOP presidential rival Nikki Haley officially threw her support behind former President Trump at the RNC convention. Fox's Kristen Goodwin recaps day 2 of the RNC.
Months after ending her White House bid, former GOP presidential primary challenger Nikki Haley telling an RNC crowd,
Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
The former South Carolina governor who served as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations in the Trump administration was initially not invited to speak even after releasing her delegates, but that changed after the attempt on the former president's life.
President Trump asked me to speak to this convention in the name of unity,
saying she was happy to accept. From the RNC in Milwaukee, Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
And Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders also took the stage.
Not even an assassin's bullet could stop him. God Almighty intervened because America is one nation under God, and he is certainly not finished with President Trump.
And today, Governor Abbott is also expected to speak at the RNC. As the FBI investigates the attempted assassination of former President Trump, we're learning about a separate plan by Iran to kill the Republican nominee. Here's Fox's David Spunt.
DHS and Secret Service and others in the law enforcement and intelligence community recently, through a human source, through one very good human source, got some intel on an attempted plot to assassinate former President Trump, increased his Secret Service in recent weeks. DHS has been concerned and has expressed that concern to former President Trump's team about holding outdoor rallies.
U.S. intelligence officials say there's no connection between the Trump rally shooter and the alleged Iranian plot. The Secret Service is facing scrutiny from lawmakers after failing to prevent the shooting on Saturday. Today, senators will be briefed by federal agencies, including the DOJ, FBI, and Secret Service. Well, Jack Black has announced that his comedy rock band Tenacious D is ending its world tour after his bandmate Kyle Gass joked on stage in Sydney about the assassination attempt on Trump.
Happy birthday to you. Make a wish, Canada. Don't miss Trump next time.
Black wrote in a statement posted to Instagram that he was blindsided by what was said at the show on Sunday. Gass has since apologized for the comment, calling it highly inappropriate, dangerous, and a terrible mistake. Well, Elon Musk is moving his social media company X from San Francisco to Austin. He's also moving the headquarters of its private spaceflight company from California to South Texas, which is a huge win for the state's high-tech sector.
The space economy over the next many years is going to be a booming industry, and it cements Texas as the space capital of America.
Glenn Hammer, who heads the Texas Association of Business, expects other tech firms to follow. The move away from the Golden State was in response to a new law there, which prohibits schools from telling parents if their child starts using different pronouns in the classroom. Well, for the second time in 4 years in the case of a death row inmate from Brownsville, the U.S. Supreme Court has put a last-minute hold on his execution. Tim Sullivan has details.
Less than an hour before Ruben Gutierrez was to be given a lethal injection, the High Court late Tuesday afternoon approved his attorney's application for a stay of execution. Gutierrez's attorneys had argued that Texas wrongly denied his right to post-conviction DNA testing they claim would show Gutierrez was not in the mobile home at the time 85-year-old Escolastica Harrison was robbed and killed in September 1998. Prosecutors argue that Gutierrez should be put to death because he was convicted under the state's law of parties.
Well, Texas public school leaders are warning that a plan to allow parents to use their tax dollars to send their kids to private school will bankrupt the state. They point to a newly released report in Arizona showing that state's school choice plan has led to a $1.4 billion budget shortfall.
The kinds of programs that are being promised, they're going to continue to grow in a time when our schools are asking for more funding.
Linda Estrada with the Texas State Teachers Association says this report out of Arizona proved that vouchers mostly help the wealthy who were already sending their kids to private school. Even with the subsidy, low-income families could still not afford it. The state is being forced to make deep cuts to other programs and projects to keep up with the ballooning cost. Well, a new ranking from the U.S. News and World Report says Methodist Hospital is the best in San Antonio.
The magazine ranked nearly 5,000 hospitals nationwide by state, region, and metro areas. The rankings are based on frequently treated procedures and conditions. While Methodist was ranked at the top, Baptist Medical Center was ranked number 2 in the San Antonio metro area. No San Antonio hospitals made the state's top 10. Methodist ranked number 18 in Texas. Baptist Medical Center ranked number 29. Houston's Methodist Hospital was named the best in Texas. Brian Gann, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
A 9-year-old San Antonio boy is in the running for the best mullet in America. Avery Quiroz has entered the kids category of the USA Mullet Championship. Avery's been growing his mullet for 2 years and calls it the Texas Waterfall. First round voting ends today. You can show your support for Avery at mulletchamp.com. It is 6:37. Traffic and weather together in a minute, but first, a check of your money and the world of business. Ed Corey is live at the Bloomberg News Desk. All right, thanks, Ed. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's First News. Randy Beamer in studio until 9 o'clock this morning for the rest of the show. In fact, Randy will be joining us tomorrow and the next day, a big part of our Republican National Convention coverage. And Randy, you're a big part of our Decision 2024 coverage. Good to have you on board.
Great to be here. It was a great trip, but I was glued to the satellite radio and then would check in with the replays of all of the networks. And it's fascinating to hear the different cable news networks do their version and to hear it, to hear it described, and then to actually look at it later. It's like that Nixon-Kennedy debate. You hear it one way and you look at it and maybe it's a little bit different.
Yeah, three if you count CNN, but CNN, MSNBC, and Fox, three views of a certain reality, and it's interesting to see how they look at it differently. We are going to go to Milwaukee right now, check in with John Decker, White House correspondent, and attorney John Decker, who is covering the Republican National Convention. And John, on board is Randy Beamer. Randy, say good morning to John Decker.
Good morning, John Decker. Being there, you have to know, I've been to a number of conventions. Is it really a different atmosphere this time?
Oh, it is. Absolutely, Randy. It's different because of what happened just 2 days before the start of this convention, the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. That's what makes it particularly different than what you'd see any other convention. It's just unique for that reason. And as you know, with conventions, it's a bubble, in terms of what happens at a convention versus the rest of the world. The excitement that the people that are there feel for the nominee of their party, whether it's Republicans and Donald Trump or Democrats and Joe Biden. There's, I think, an artificial sense about what happens inside that arena is not what is happening in the rest of America. But you suspend disbelief, you enjoy it, you go with it. And that's what I do when I go to these conventions.
And John, this message of unity from the Republican Party, when you think about it, it's really a direct contradiction of what's going on within the Democratic Party right now. Do you think that's the intended purpose?
I think that the intended purpose is simply what happened on Saturday. That's, the sole reason behind it. It wouldn't be happening, or this would not be the theme if there were not this assassination attempt that happened against Donald Trump on Saturday. I'm pretty certain about that. But that being said, the speeches are different than what you would encounter typically. Yes, there are some shots that are taken against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, but I don't think that they're the type of hard shots that typically you'd hear at a convention. I think that they're heeding Donald Trump's call to tone it down, to tone down the political rhetoric.
And speaking of speeches, John, big one tonight. Vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance will take the podium. What do you expect to hear from him tonight?
Well, most Americans are not familiar with J.D. Vance. Those in Ohio are, those who follow politics are, particularly Republican politics. But most Americans don't fit into those categories. And so for J.D. Vance, it's an opportunity to introduce himself to the public, to essentially say, I'm not the caricature that you've been reading about. I'm not, this hard, right, intolerant person. He needs to humanize himself, and he needs to convey to the public that's not familiar with him that they should feel comfortable with him if Donald Trump wins the presidency in November, comfortable with him serving as vice president of the United States.
But he's been the attack dog, maybe picked because of that, if it was before the assassination attempt especially. And right after it, he tweeted something to connect Biden and the Democrats to the assassination attempt. And now this theme is unity. How much of an attack dog can he be, maybe to balance Trump in a new role as a unity kind of president?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. Yesterday I did an interview with Eric Trump, and I asked Eric, how long do you think this political truce will last? And he didn't know. He said he hopes it lasts all the way through November. But, to me, I've seen this play out before, and I think I give it a week. I mean, to be quite honest, that may sound cynical, and it is cynical. but the news cycle moves too quickly. And this election is important to both Republicans and Democrats. And ultimately, I think you'll see both sides revert to what was the norm before that assassination attempt. You know, the hard attacks on each other, even the personal attacks on each other. I think that unfortunately that's coming back in short order, despite, you know, the belief that, you know, most Americans would like to see a calming down of the political rhetoric.
So, John, other than Trump's running mate, who are some of the other speakers we will see today?
Well, you know, what we saw last night, I thought was pretty interesting. First and foremost, we saw all of those former opponents of Donald Trump, including Vivek Ramaswamy and Governor Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley, all speak in the convention hall and all coalescing, announcing their support for Donald Trump, saying why they support him, serving as president for another 4 years. And it was interesting being in the convention hall. When each of them are speaking, I have my binoculars. I've spoken about this before. I love binoculars because I just keep them fixed on Donald Trump's box to see his reaction to watch his former opponents bow down to him in making these speeches. And you can tell to a certain extent, Donald Trump may appreciate the endorsement coming from people like Nikki Haley, but he is not pleased. He wasn't pleased that Nikki Haley challenged him in the first place, the person that he elevated to be the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and had the temerity to challenge him for the Republican nomination. I don't think he's ever gotten over that. And of course, harsh words were said by Nikki Haley and Donald Trump about each other, but ultimately he extended that invitation to her to speak at the convention, and she gave her speech last night. To me, I thought that Ron DeSantis gave a much stronger speech, and it was really well received. Very strong reaction from those delegates in that convention hall, listening to Ron DeSantis deliver his speech endorsing Donald Trump.
Great reporting and analysis, as always, from White House correspondent and attorney John Decker. We'll be going to him tomorrow and Friday as well from Milwaukee. Much more coming up, including Charlie Parker with Those Were the Days. WOAI News Time 647.
Well, Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, will speak at tonight's RNC. X is now moving its headquarters to Texas. We'll have more coming up. Right now, traffic and weather together.
Your Weather Channel forecast, partly cloudy today with a high in the upper 90s, overnight lows in the upper 70s, 60% chance of thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. Friday, a chance of morning thunderstorms. Right now, 78 in New Braunfels. It is 79 at the Snake Farm, clear 80 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news. Randy Beamer in studio. Randy, have you been to the Snake Farm?
I have. I had a 20-foot python around my neck.
Get out.
When I did the story. Yes.
Oh, my God.
I did. And also before then, back, I remember when you could buy lizards and things there.
Really?
I don't think they're there anymore. But, yeah, I love the place.
Charity, have you been to the Snake Farm?
Added to the list. No Buc-ee's, no Marfa, no Snake Farm.
Very small bucket list.
Now, you know the urban legend, Randy, don't you? The Snake Farm, do you know?
I do not.
It was, according to urban legend, years ago, it was a front for a house of ill repute. Because people used to say, there's no way people go there to look at snakes and lizards.
Snake Farm.
Apparently, you would go to I don't believe this is true. I'm not reporting this as fact. It was an urban legend, but apparently you would go to the Snake Farm, and if you had said the secret sentence, I'd really like to see a coral snake. I don't know what it was. That you would be escorted to another area.
Back later on, they had cages, which seems like. Yeah, Charity.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever take the kids there yet? Or
No. I
That
need to
sounds
go.
like and Charity, it
There's
is
always
not
a line
house
out
of
the
ill
door.
repute.
There's always a line out the door, though, when we drive by. That and Buc-ee's, lines everywhere. So
they had really diversified in terms of animals and things like that. There was a couple I remember doing story and in from Chicago, and they changed the whole nature and to try to make it more mainstream, I think.
It has endured. I mean, ever since I think it was there when I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, my brother went to what was Southwest Texas State University at the time, now Texas State. And I remember driving back down 35 when I was about 10 years old, seeing the Snake Farm.
The old brother didn't take you down to
I
the old
never,
Snake Farm.
you would have
make
thought.
you a man.
I asked him to take me either there or to LaGrange, but I never got a trip there.
Are we on the air now?
Yes.
Well, Randy, coming up at 7:10, wait till you hear this. We're going to hear highlights from last night's Republican National Convention. We just heard from John Decker. He thought that Ron DeSantis' speech was better than Nikki Haley's speech. Anybody stand out to you last night?
I think what they called the EDAs, the Everyday Americans, they were very effective. The woman whose son, Weston, died of fentanyl.
Yeah.
Very, very compelling story. And I think that was the most effective. But I'm trying to think of who else. Ted Cruz did not make the networks. He didn't make the prime time. And it seems like the people that were in touch with Trump and in his favor were closer to the later hours when they were in prime
Interesting.
time. You know, Trump, Nikki Haley, although another thing is they had Nikki Haley on and right away went to Rubio so that they couldn't go back to the pundits and parse what Nikki Haley had to say.
I would believe all of that is by design.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Very interesting. More with Randy Beamer coming up, and we will at 7:10 bring you highlights from last night's Republican National Convention. But right now, Charity McCurdy with all the stories you need to know about on this Wednesday morning. WOAI News Time is 7 o'clock. Travis says, the wife and I took our grandson to the snake farm. Not a bad place, but overpriced. I wouldn't
7
have thought
o'clock
of-
is our
I
time.
guess it's
San
overpriced
Antonio's
at the
first
snake farm.
news.
I
Good
don't remember.
Wednesday
I guess-
morning.
yeah.
I'm
I
Charity
haven't been there
McCurdy.
since
Among
they
our top
jacked up the
stories,
prices.
former Trump rebels take to the stage at the
and I don't know if you get
RNC,
to
and Elon Musk is
hold the
bringing all his
snakes
exes to
unless you're a
Texas.
TV guy.
Details
Yeah,
ahead. First,
probably.
traffic and weather
Probably,
together
if you could,
every
in the
10 minutes
70s,
in
you probably
mornings.
can't anymore.
Oh yeah, well,
because
this
of
was in the 80s or
liability.
90s. But would you do that?
I'm not Indiana Jones when it comes to snakes. Apparently, Charlie Parker is deathly afraid of snakes. Apparently, according to Tim, he freaks out whenever they're on TV. I'm not that far, but I'm not a big snake person either.
I'm roaches. I couldn't do that.
There's a great billboard near where I live. It's a pest control company. Might be ABC. It says everybody has
Your
courage
Weather
until a
Channel
cockroach
forecast for
flies.
this Wednesday, partly
It's
cloudy,
so-
a high in
it's
the
so
upper
true.
90s,
When those things
nights low in
fly
the
at
upper
you,
70s.
my
right
God.
now, 79
Although I had pet
degrees.
cockroaches when I first lived here in my apartment.
Jeez.
It was just like a walk.
Well, it's a wrap for day 2 of the RNC, and former President Trump received a huge endorsement from a former opponent. Fox's Aisha Hasni has more on Decision 2024.
A huge, loud applause, a standing ovation as the former president got a big endorsement and a big show of support from a former opponent, Nikki Haley.
Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
We are told that Trump actually changed around his schedule to come and watch her speak in person, a big unity moment, according to the campaign. Haley, who polls show is favored by independents across the country, talked about the war on Ukraine, saying Putin did not invade while Trump was in office. She talked about Iran, saying that Iran was afraid to start anything when Trump was in office. And she also talked about the border, saying that it was much safer under Trump.
And Texas Senator Ted Cruz also spoke.
As a result of Joe Biden's presidency, your family is less safe. Your children are less safe. The country is less safe. But here's the good news. We can fix it. And when Donald Trump is president, we will fix it.
And today, Governor Abbott is expected to speak. Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, will also take the stage at the RNC. Meantime, Congress is set to receive more information today about the weekend shooting that injured Trump.
Both the Senate and the House will receive virtual unclassified briefings from representatives of the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the Secret Service. The meetings are virtual as many members are not on Capitol Hill this week due to the Republican National Convention. As the investigation into Saturday's events in attempted assassination of President Trump continues, so does the pressure on Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle. She has vowed to stay on and is set to appear next Monday at a hearing before the House Oversight Committee, chaired by Kentucky Republican Congressman James Comer. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
Well, Iran is rejecting U.S. accusations that it was plotting to kill Trump. Trump had his security boosted weeks ago, according to CNN, after U.S. authorities received intelligence about an alleged Iranian plot against him. Iran is now rejecting those accusations, calling them unsubstantiated and malicious. Well, all of Elon Musk's exes will now live in Texas.
The billionaire is moving his social media company X from San Francisco to Austin. He's also moving the headquarters of SpaceX from California to South Texas. Glenn Hammer, who heads the Texas Association of Business, expects other tech firms to follow.
That's pretty much an iron law when you have a major corporate relocation.
The move away from the Golden State was in response to a new law which prohibits schools from telling parents if their child starts using different pronouns in class. Musk says he warned the governor of California that laws like this would force families and companies to leave. Michael Board, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
The San Antonio Zoning Commission is opposed to a proposed buffer zone around the Toyota plant on the south side. The proposed industrial compatibility overlay district would restrict commercial and residential development around the plant. In yesterday's meeting, the commission heard from the city and from local residents about the proposed zone and voted against it. The final decision belongs to City Council. The U.S. Supreme Court has granted a stay of execution for a Texas death row inmate. Stephen Pickering reports.
57-year-old Ruben Gutierrez was convicted of killing 85-year-old Estolastica Harrison at her home in Brownsville in 1998 and was sentenced to death. The Texas Department of Criminal Justice was just about 20 minutes away from carrying out the sentence on Tuesday when word came down the U.S. Supreme Court had issued a stay of execution. They want time to consider whether they should actually review his appeal request. Lawyers for Gutierrez say DNA tests on evidence would help prove his innocence. Prosecutors say Gutierrez gave a confession in which he admitted to planning the robbery and said he was inside her home when she was killed.
And the Houston area death toll from Hurricane Beryl is at 11. 3 people were killed by falling trees, including 2 in their homes and 1 on a tractor clearing debris. 2 people drowned in their cars, including a Houston Police Department employee who was trying to get to work. Other deaths in Southeast Texas brings Beryl's total to 18, and over 53,000 remain without power. It is 7:06. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Traffic and weather coming up.
San Antonio's first news. Randy Beamer in studio with us this morning, and for the rest of the week, we're looking forward to that. Charity McCurdy, I'm Chris Duell. Thanks to Charlie Parker for those were the days. Mr. T has the day off. Coming up, we will bring you last night's night number 2 of the Republican National Convention in 2 minutes. We'll hear highlights from last night's speeches in a segment we call Wait Till You Hear This. Then Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast at 7:20. But first, let's get you caught up on traffic and weather together. Your Weather Channel forecast, partly cloudy today with a high in the upper 90s, overnight low in the upper 70s, 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms tomorrow, Friday a chance of morning thunderstorms. Right now, 78 in Boerne, 79 at the Pearl, clear and 80 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news. Every weekday morning at this time, we span the globe to bring you the constant variety of audio in a segment called Wait Till You Hear This. In case you missed it, or if you would like a refresher, we've got last night's Republican National Convention in 2 minutes. Right here, you're going to hear in order Vivek Ramaswamy, Steve Scalise, Ted Cruz, Nikki Haley, and Ron DeSantis. Here it is. Ouch. Oh, no, you didn't. That was Ron DeSantis most recently in that clip. How do you feel, Randy, about the Weekend at Bernie's reference?
Well, I don't know about the unity of that. But then also there was Donald Jr. clashing with an MSNBC reporter on the floor yesterday when he was asked about immigration. There's also been a few other shots back and forth. So you wonder if by the time Trump is speaking, will that unity, go away so much that Trump himself will say, I tried to be nice, but these guys aren't, so let's go. I mean, it could happen.
Yeah. And I think it'll be interesting if when we hear from Governor Greg Abbott tonight at the RNC, if he gives a speech that resonates with the message of unity, and of course Trump's running mate J.D. Vance. Will he stick to the messaging as well?
Yeah, it was interesting when we spoke with White House correspondent John Decker in the previous half hour. Speaking of unity, you asked him, Randy, how long will it last? He said, I give it a week.
Yes.
I don't even know
I
if
think that's optimistic.
Yeah, based on what we just heard from Ron DeSantis, maybe it won't last a week.
Well, also yesterday, there was one comment or a couple in the Biden speech to the NAACP when he was talking about what Trump's policies were. And then he said, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Come on, man. And that was personal talking about Trump. So I think they kind of fall back into the instincts, and it's so ingrained in them, and also the pundits on each side. And, they play to the pundits, they play to the base. The base, especially at those conventions, are pretty hardcore, especially the Texas delegation. The Texas Republican Party has been hard on some of the Texas Republican Party against Tony Gonzalez, censuring him.
Yeah.
And so coming out of this, they'll get a bump. They'll play nice. The Olympics will be on, and then it'll get back to it.
Yeah, it is rough and tumble. I expected it to get pretty ugly in short order once again. Coming up, we will check in with Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast, his thoughts on the goings-on in Milwaukee at the Republican National Convention. 7:40, we will go back to Milwaukee. National correspondent Rory O'Neill with the latest on the convention at that time. WOAI News Time, 7:15. Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together, then Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast. But first, Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
Once bitter rivals, two GOP heavyweights came out in support of Donald Trump on day 2 of the RNC. Today, Governor Abbott is expected to speak at the RNC, and the city of Austin will soon be the home of X. We'll have details coming up. Right now, traffic and weather together.
Weather Channel forecast: partly cloudy today, high in the upper 90s. The overnight lows will be in the upper 70s. 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms tomorrow. Friday, a chance of morning thunderstorms. Right now, 78 in New Braunfels, 78 in Leon Valley, partly cloudy, and 79 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news. Every weekday morning at this time, we check in with Mike Opelka from the Pure Opelka podcast. Mike, Mr. T is out today, but Randy Beamer in for Mr. T. Randy, say hello to Mike Opelka.
Hi, Mike Opelka. First question for you. I know everybody's been talking about the convention, but is Joe Biden trying to make a little news or bury the news when he talks about the Supreme Court and the term limits?
Randy, this is pure pandering. This is the absolute pandering technique of Joe Biden. He's in dire straits in the polling. His own party is trying to throw him out. So he goes, especially, this started over the weekend, Saturday, with a phone call to the Congressional Black Caucus. And he says, I'm going to need your help if we're going to fix the Supreme Court. None of this has a chance of going anywhere. They don't have the horsepower. They don't have the votes to either mandate the Supreme Court has term limits or an ethics policy, which, I could get behind an ethics policy for the court. But we have 3 separate but equal co-branches of government. And the executive doesn't have the ability to impose this on the Supreme Court.
And speaking of the president, Mike, he spoke at the NAACP meeting in Vegas, and there were apparently some moments that raised eyebrows.
Yeah, there was more pandering there, Charity, as well. But there were questions about Joe's mumbling, fumbling, bumbling. He called the NAACP the NAAC, which is uncomfortable. But he had a whole series of screw-ups yesterday. But here's the interesting thing. Claire McCaskill, former senator, is a regular contributor now to Morning Joe on MSNBC. And she wants everybody to know that we're just setting the bar too high for Joe Biden, that we've known he's been a screw up all his life. We know he's been a gaffe machine. So we better get used to it. I don't think they're going to do well with him going forward. I do believe there's I guess, a reinvigorated push to get Joe out.
Be very interesting to see how that plays out. Of course, the Republican National Convention last night was a big night. Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Ted Cruz, and others. Your thoughts on what you saw last night?
I think we saw what you're supposed to see happen at a convention, and that is the healing of the wounds from the campaign, the primary campaign. With DeSantis being DeSantis, I thought he was very serviceable as a possible 2028 candidate out there. Nikki Haley mending fences, building bridges, not a full-throated endorsement, but as she said, a strong endorsement. Marco Rubio, okay. Vivek Ramaswamy making either the best presentation and pitch for being Donald Trump's press secretary or to replace J.D. Vance as the senator in Ohio. thought all in all, those were good, but the two women who spoke with emotional speeches, one about violence that has come to this country and the other about losing a child to the opioid fentanyl stuff, both of those were just tearing me up.
I know you have a crystal ball. So what do you think? What's your speculation on both the Trump speech, how unifying that will be, and then the Democratic response in terms of their convention by that time? What are they going to do?
Well, Randy, I think we're a long way away from the Democrats' convention, and this is why we're now seeing Democrats say, hey, let's not do that early virtual nomination of Joe just yet. Let's do it at the convention. We want to do it then, which indicates that there may be a renewed push to throw him out. So that would radically change their convention. Donald Trump has told us he changed his speech. And I think if you look at his face, there is a marketable change in Donald Trump after the assassination attempt. I think it's going to be unifying Trump. I think it's going to be inspiring Trump. And frankly, I can't wait for Thursday night.
It's going to be a big, big night. You can get more Mike Opelka from his Pure Opelka podcast. Get it wherever you get your podcast. We recommend the free iHeartRadio app. Another episode will drop this morning. You don't want to miss it. Mike is brought to us by Randy Adams Incorporated. Coming up at 7:40, we go back to Milwaukee, site of the Republican National Convention. We'll check in with national correspondent Rory O'Neill for a preview of tonight and J.D. Vance's speech. It's going to be pretty big. WOAI News Time, 7:26. They don't like to see the behind the scenes.
You're stereotyping. You're doing what
That's true.
Politicians do. They don't want to do this. That
The woke mob doesn't want to see.
Oh, yeah. Woke media mob.
The mainstream media doesn't want to see the kids in the booth.
No, the lamestream media.
No, it's not on the.
They're keeping you from us.
Right, exactly, 100%. No, the fun thing is though, this shot right here is only supposed to be for, I guess, charity, because it's not even on our option board.
But
like of the clips that I can take.
Don't they see it from that camera?
Not the control. Oh yeah, I guess you're right. When we do take that back shot, you do see like a little bit of this, which I think is kind of funny.
Subliminal kids in the booth.
way far back. Yeah, but anyway.
But production values, you need to start switching.
You know what's crazy? That's in the budget. We need to get more production value. I'm trying to think, maybe a Star White. What do you think?
Yes. Instagram.
Or when Randy's on, there should be starbursts coming across the screen.
And
or maybe a halo above.
Just stay with the starburst, though. Don't ever go to me.
Ted has always been joking, like, you can have like moving graphics and stuff. And I'm like, let's just get the shots the way they need to be shot, and then we can add to like the production. You know, stop touching my camera.
So, my camera.
Come on.
Yeah, up in the upper right-hand corner, you see it in real time what you're adjusting. Yeah.
Nobody ever wanted to work with me because I did this all the time. Like Fred Lozano once. I was shooting just a little bit below. Put the camera on. Fred, I'm 30 feet back and I want to put the skyline.
Yeah.
Still, you look at put the camera on. I'm not going to do the stand-up.
Wow. Funny.
You know.
From film school, you probably.
Completely broken. I swear that I noticed the other day, who was it on Fox News, I think, that they had they had less headroom for Hannity to make him look taller.
Wow.
than a woman.
That's funny. And it doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
There's two boxes side by side.
Right.
It wasn't- Although now we're showing the gut.
Yeah, I know. I was using that camera yesterday because I normally don't sit here, and I noticed it's like, God, I've got to sit up straight. It's like the beer gut looks disgusting.
Although here we go. Product placement.
Nice. All right, here comes.
.31 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, it's day 3 of the RNC with a message of Make America Strong once again. And Elon Musk is bringing X to Texas. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes and mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Wednesday. Partly cloudy, a high in the upper 90s. Tonight's low in the upper 70s. Right now, 79 degrees. Former GOP presidential rival Nikki Haley officially threw her support behind former President Trump at the RNC. Fox's Kristen Goodwin recaps day 2 of the RNC with Decision 2024.
Months after ending her White House bid, former GOP presidential primary challenger Nikki Haley telling an RNC crowd,
Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
The former South Carolina governor who served as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations in the Trump administration was initially not invited to speak even after releasing her delegates, but that changed after the attempt on the former president's life.
President Trump asked me to speak to this convention in the name of unity.
Saying she was happy to accept. From the RNC in Milwaukee, Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
And Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders also took to the stage.
Not even an assassin's bullet could stop him. God Almighty intervened because America is one nation under God, and he is certainly not finished with President Trump.
In addition to Trump running mate J.D. Vance, Governor Abbott is also expected to speak today at the RNC. Police officers from Columbus, Ohio were in Milwaukee to help with security for the RNC, and they shot a man who was armed with a knife yesterday. Here's Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson.
No one, absolutely no one, wanted this outcome, and I anticipate a full as well as thorough investigation. The deceased individual had family, had friends, and my thoughts certainly are with them.
It happened about a mile from the RNC venue. Jack Black has announced that his comedy rock band Tenacious D is ending its world tour after his bandmate Kyle Gass joked on stage in Sydney about the assassination attempt on former President Trump.
Don't miss Trump next time.
Black wrote in a statement on Instagram he was blindsided by what was said at the show. Gass has since apologized, calling it highly inappropriate, dangerous, and a terrible mistake. Well, Elon Musk is moving his social media company X from San Francisco to Austin. He's also moving the headquarters of his private spaceflight company from California to South Texas, which is a huge win for the state's high-tech sector.
The space economy over the next many years is going to be a booming industry, and it cements Texas as the space capital of America.
Glenn Hammer, who heads the Texas Association of Business, expects other tech firms to follow. The move away from the Golden State was in response to a new law there, which prohibits schools from telling parents if their child starts using different pronouns in the classroom. Well, for the second time in 4 years, in the case of a death row inmate from Brownsville, the U.S. Supreme Court has put a last-minute hold on his execution. Tim Sullivan has details.
Less than an hour before Ruben Gutierrez was to be given a lethal injection, the High Court late Tuesday afternoon approved his attorney's application for a stay of execution. Gutierrez's attorneys had argued that Texas wrongly denied his right to post-conviction DNA testing they claim would show Gutierrez was not in the mobile home at the time 85-year-old Escolastica Harrison was robbed and killed in September 1998. Prosecutors argue that Gutierrez should be put to death because he was convicted under the state's law of parties.
Well, Governor Abbott says he wants answers from CenterPoint Energy about the company's handling of power outages after Hurricane Beryl. The governor says CenterPoint has until the end of the month to submit plans to protect the local power supply through the rest of the current hurricane season, and he threatened to lobby against any effort to get the state to repay CenterPoint for their recovery work.
The state will have to consider whether or not we should be reducing the size of the territorial region so maybe they can do a better job of managing it.
The Public Utility Commission is already investigating CenterPoint's ability to prepare for a hurricane. As of this morning, over 53,000 remain without power in the Houston area. Well, San Antonio police are warning residents to keep an eye out for porch pirates as the Amazon Prime Day event concludes today. A post on the department's Facebook page says people should try to be home to accept delivery of packages or arrange with a neighbor or relative to take a delivery. You can also have the package sent to a locker or some other place that accepts Amazon deliveries. It is 7:37. Traffic and weather together in a minute, but first, a check of your money and the world of business. Ed Corey is live at the Bloomberg News Desk. All right, thanks, Ed. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's First News. Randy Beamer in studio with us today, tomorrow, and on Friday. She's Charity McCurdy. I'm Chris Duell. Mr. T has the day off. Let's go to Milwaukee, site of the Republican National Convention, where our national correspondent Rory O'Neill is covering the convention. Rory, in this week is Randy Beamer. Randy, say hello to Rory O'Neill.
Hi, Rory O'Neill. I have a couple of questions for you because I've covered conventions before, and I know it's fun. Now, there's going to be a lot of attention on J.D. Vance tonight, both positive and negative from maybe the other networks or whatever. And there was that quote that some of them brought up already that he once said, we're effectively running this country, the Democrats, via corporate oligarchs and a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable in their own lives. Anyway, how much does this kind of thing, you know that the Democrats will play that in the run-up to the election. Are they getting any, are you seeing any Democrats around there or maybe MSNBC that's focusing on this kind of stuff?
Well, I think that some networks, but also the campaign, the Biden campaign, has an awful lot of old video evidence that they can use to show that there was a time when J.D. Vance was a never Trumper. He called him he had the potential to become America's Hitler, even. So remarkable words and terms from the man who is now number 2 on the ticket. So tonight's speech, I imagine, from this 39-year-old Ohio senator will be a lot of backstory, a lot of introduction, explaining what is quite literally a rags to riches story, and then trying to explain how he went from a never Trumper to a number 2 on the ticket.
And Rory, with today's theme, Make America Strong, once again, I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of focus on Trump's America First policies.
Yes, there's some of that, and also a lot on the military. Also, keep in mind, part of J.D. Vance's backstory is he's a Marine, is. So we're also going to hear a lot about that, I'm sure. We have not gotten the full list of speakers just yet, but yes, this America's strength is a big part of it. I'm sure we'll also hear a lot more references to China and their rising influence around the world. So that's going to be a big part of it. And keep in mind, J.D. Vance has some international policy differences with what I might call mainstream Republicans. I wouldn't go so far as to say he's an isolationist, but he doesn't want the U.S. to get involved with Ukraine. He says he can't see the point in us supporting a war like that thousands of miles away, whereas there are others in the Republican Party, say Mitch McConnell, who think it's of vital interest.
Rory, one of the big speakers last night was Nikki Haley. I was talking with Randy about this. You know, when she came onto the stage, you could hear a smattering of boos, but as she made the speech, giving strong support to Donald Trump, by the time she left, they were all seemingly in accord and cheering for her. How would you rate her speech last night?
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, if you were to grade the speech in the first 2 minutes, it would be tough because she essentially laid out how she does not agree with Donald Trump on 100% of the issues. The people in that room, they do agree with Donald Trump on 100% of the issues. So there is that bit of a difference. But her point being, look, you don't have to agree 100% in order to support Donald Trump. Her argument being that Trump is better than Biden and Harris in particular. That's why she said she was offering up her strong endorsement of Donald Trump.
Being at the conventions, I noticed that on stage, it's maybe a different picture than off stage, what the actual delegates are doing. You see the unified part of this Republican Party on stage. What about backstage at other meetings and you know, just off the air, we'll say? What's it been like?
I think that what happened, the events of Saturday, the attempted assassination, I think have even done more to help unify things. I'm surprised at just how little action has been going on in the early afternoon hours at the convention center. The room is relatively empty. You know, there are about 2,500, 3,000 delegates. So they'll fill up most of the floor, but otherwise the convention hall is actually empty most of the day. Now, that's probably not going to be true for tonight's speech by J.D. Vance and, of course, tomorrow with Donald Trump. But to your point, people may not be aware that there are all these different forums, and the Heritage Foundation is doing some things over here, and the Asian American Islander, Pacific Islander group was doing an event, at a location just outside. So there are all these other events that are happening, bringing together various members of the GOP, trying to get them all fired up and out in the field, trying to recruit voters going into November.
And Rory, we're hearing Texas Governor Greg Abbott will be among the speakers today, and I got to think the southern border will likely be a major focus.
Absolutely. And I think that's going to go back to America's, keeping America strong again, being the message. And I think that'll be a big part of it. So, yeah, I think that goes into the theme of the night. I think Ron DeSantis went a bit off script. I mean, well, not literally, but off message when he was talking about DEI and things like that yesterday, which seemed to be coming out of left field when they were talking about border security and the like. But we'll see how the governor does on message tonight when he takes the stage.
He is national correspondent Rory O'Neill in Milwaukee for the Republican National Convention. We are talking with him all week, getting updates. Lots more coming up. WOAI News Time 746. Woohoo!
I have a couple minutes to.
Eric K. E.N., welcome in. Mike, good to see you. Julie. Thank you, Eric. We're going to go to headlines, traffic, and weather here in a moment. We'll hear from Charity. Hey, Jacob, I thought I was your favorite, and Randy and Mr. T. Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together. More with Randy Beamer in studio. But first, Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
Day 3 of the RNC will feature Texas Governor Greg Abbott as well as Trump's running mate J.D. Vance. Elon Musk is looking to relocate 2 of his companies from California to Texas. And the U.S. Supreme Court has halted the execution of a Texas killer. We'll have the latest coming up right now, traffic and weather together.
Your Weather Channel forecast: partly cloudy today, high in the upper 90s, overnight lows in the upper 70s, 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms tomorrow. Friday, a chance of morning thunderstorms. Right now, 78 in Terrell Hills, 77 at the Buc-ee's in San Marcos, and 79 and partly cloudy at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news. We are live on YouTube if you want to see Randy Beamer and Charity McCurdy and me and find out why I'm on radio. And Randy Beamer was on television and is on television was on News 4 San Antonio most recently. Now on the record, 7 o'clock Thursday nights.
Thank you for the shameless plug.
I know that now. 7 o'clock Thursday nights on KLRN. Replay on Sunday. All episodes available on online at klrn.org. And you can see on YouTube why Charity McCurdy should be on television.
I don't know about that.
I think I do.
I've told her that.
I used to have a boss named Andrew Ashwood who was Charity's boss a million years ago. You knew Andrew.
Yes.
And Andrew said, Charity McCurdy needs to be on television.
Well, you're doing more video now, aren't
That's
you?
true.
TikTok.
Yes.
You kids are all over that. That's what you have to do.
It's hard to suddenly, like after 20 years doing radio, suddenly they're like, oh, you're doing radio and television. So here you go. And yeah, it takes a lot of getting used to. I have a lot of respect for you, Randy, being in front of the camera and behind the camera. It takes a lot of confidence.
Behind the camera is a lot more fun.
Yeah.
I have to tell you that. You know, the kids in the booth, speaking of that. Now, you do TikTok, don't you?
No,
Charity
no.
or Instagram? You do?
Instagram, yes. Facebook, yes. And, you know, I'm on X, but I don't really post often on X. I'm there really to see what everyone else has to say.
What kind of reaction do you get that's different when you're on Facebook versus Instagram versus X versus TikTok?
You know, I like Instagram more because, you know, it's more about pictures and people will provide little quick comments or give it a love, a heart. Facebook, again, I think it's more negative, not necessarily directed at me, but just, you know, the posts that I see on Facebook, I'm there to see people's family updates and such, where it seems like it's just full of memes and conspiracies these days.
And this is the worst time of year for Facebook and social media, an election year.
Oh, right.
Not worst time of year, but this to go through an election cycle, as you know, Randy, social media gets quite ugly.
Oh, yes. But now when you do post things about your family, you get a lot more response, because I've had that happen and I've been a little protective of my kids. But whatever you post, people like that more than I could post news stories and nobody would care. And then I would post something about my kid doing this or that and all kinds of reaction.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially since our listeners are kind of our extended family, in a sense. The fact that they knew when I was pregnant with my first child. And so over the years, I like sharing with them just the latest family updates. And I think they enjoy seeing them grow and and can relate to, the struggles of parenthood. So I think it's something they really appreciate.
Chris, what about you with sports? Now, I don't know how much you posted about sports. You do a lot of sports.
Yeah.
And broadcasting. And I would guess it's a little different.
It is. What I did a long time ago, and I don't always do this. I try to. I've noticed that social media is so toxic that I try to post positive messages on social media, just in my small way to combat the toxicity. So I did, I was over on Ticket 760 doing sports. I've done, the Spurs broadcast with Bill Schoening. So I can't help but post about Spurs. And of course, the Dallas Cowboys tear my heart out several times each season, and certainly at playoff time.
Sobbing
So I sometimes, talk about how I'm banging my head against the wall for the Cowboys.
I try to do more positive stuff. Now, I use these things. Go to my Facebook page. I can't do that. Shameless plug.
And
But
you should go to his
I do
Facebook page.
some things like Texas test. Like yesterday, I'm out in the middle of West Texas.
Yeah.
And I put this animal on. I say, what is this? Do you know
Cool.
its name? I'm not going to give it away. But if you go to my Facebook page, or it was on Instagram, I try to do that, but it's very hard. How about the kids in the booth? Let's ask the kids in the booth what they are watching about the convention, I think.
Are you guys even paying attention to the convention, Andrew Zimmel?
Oh, Gen Z.
Very cool. All right. Tell you what, we're going to go to the top of the hour. Charity McCurdy has everything you need to know, all the big stories on this Wednesday morning. Then let's talk a little J.D. Vance with national correspondent Aaron Real at 8:10. Apparently, J.D. Vance is the darling of Silicon Valley. Why is that? We'll find out coming up. WOAI News Time, 7:58. The movie was good. We're on, by the way, just until Charity comes on.
Sure.
I thought the movie was very, very good. But I might, now that he's could be the vice president, I might go and read the book.
I saw a headline, and of course, headlines are like the TikTok and the memes and the media mean stuff about that. That's not the J.D. Vance that people know. And they interviewed, I think it was MSNBC, they interviewed his former roommate.
I saw a little bit of that this morning.
That had the quote about whether Trump was going to be this or that, Hitler.
Yeah.
And he was quite critical, but I wonder how much they're going to get into his past.
Yeah.
And
the roommate I saw, I didn't realize, I looked at the graphic underneath. He's a Democratic
state rep from Georgia.
Okay, yes. So he's in politics, and what the part that I caught, he said J.D. Vance has changed quite a bit over the years.
And that's
he was not positive
it was
about
like
him.
For a former roommate, he must have done a little laundry.
Yes.
That he didn't like to do, or maybe J.D. Vance was a Oscar and he was the other guy in The Odd Couple.
Yeah, I think of my former roommates, and I don't know that they'd have good things to say about me. So
hygiene, I think, was my issue, but
well, it's so funny. I used to, back in the VHS days, when a camcorder was huge, I used to videotape everything.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I still have a lot of them
those?
on VHS, like stacked in closets. But I go back and I look at them now, and I can't stand me because I'm always, if there'll be like four people, I'm monopolizing the conversation. I'm always playing to the camera. I'm always
be on TV.
I hate that guy, and that guy's me, which is tough. So
wow.
So I think back. So I think people who knew me in my 20s, or roommates from way back, I think they might not be thrilled with me.
But that.
I think. But again, we're our own harshest critic.
Foretaste of your radio that you had to be.
I guess.
That you're naturally.
I guess. But
gregarious.
I was way over the top at the time.
8 o'clock is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, former Trump rivals take the stage at the RNC to bring a message of unity, and Elon Musk is bringing all his exes to Texas. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Wednesday. Partly cloudy, a high in the upper 90s. Tonight's low in the upper 70s. Get a move on. It is 79 degrees. Well, it is a wrap for day 2 of the RNC, and former President Trump received a huge endorsement from a former opponent. Fox's Aisha Hasni has more on Decision 2024.
A huge, loud applause, a standing ovation as the former president got a big endorsement and a big show of support from a former opponent, Nikki Haley.
Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
We are told that Trump actually changed around his schedule to come and watch her speak in person, a big unity moment, according to the campaign. Haley, who polls show is favored by independents across the country, talked about the war on Ukraine, saying Putin did not invade while Trump was in office. She talked about Iran, that Iran was afraid to start anything when Trump was in office. And she also talked about the border, saying that it was much safer under Trump.
And Texas Senator Ted Cruz also spoke.
As a result of Joe Biden's presidency, your family is less safe. Your children are less safe. The country is less safe. But here's the good news. We can fix it. And when Donald Trump is president, we will fix it.
And today, Governor Abbott will deliver remarks. Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, will also take the stage. Meantime, Congress is set to receive more information today about the weekend shooting that injured former President Trump.
The billionaire is moving a social.
Both the Senate and the House will receive virtual unclassified briefings from representatives of the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the Secret Service. The meetings are virtual as many members are not on Capitol Hill this week due to the Republican National Convention. As the investigation into Saturday's events in attempted assassination of President Trump continues, so does the pressure on Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle. She has vowed to stay on and is set to appear next Monday at a hearing before the House Oversight Committee, chaired by Kentucky Republican Congressman James Comer. Kevin Uretsky, Fox News.
Well, police officers from Columbus, Ohio were in Milwaukee to help with security for the RNC, and they shot a man who was armed with a knife yesterday. Here's Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson.
No one, absolutely no one, wanted this outcome, and I anticipate a full as well as thorough investigation. The deceased individual had family, had friends, and my thoughts certainly are with them.
And earlier this week, Milwaukee police say an armed man wearing a ski mask was arrested near the RNC. All of Elon Musk's exes will now live in Texas.
The billionaire is moving his social media company X from San Francisco to Austin. He's also moving the headquarters of SpaceX from California to South Texas. Glenn Hammer, who heads the Texas Association of Business, expect other tech firms to follow.
That's pretty much an iron law when you have a major corporate relocation.
The move away from the Golden State was in response to a new law which prohibits schools from telling parents if their child starts using different pronouns in class. Musk says he warned the governor of California that laws like this would force families and companies to leave. Michael Board, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
The San Antonio Zoning Commission is opposed to a proposed buffer zone around the Toyota plant on the city's south side. The proposed industrial compatibility overlay district would restrict commercial and residential development around the plant. In yesterday's meeting, the commission heard from the city and from local residents about the proposed zone and voted against it. The final decision belongs to city council. Well, a Texas death row inmate has been given a last-minute reprieve. Brian Gann reports.
The execution of Texas death row inmate Ruben Gutierrez is indefinitely stayed after a last-minute intervention by the U.S. Supreme Court. Gutierrez was 20 minutes from his death by lethal injection last night for the murder of 85-year-old Escolástica Harrison in Brownsville. He was convicted more than 25 years ago and is now 47. Gutierrez and his attorneys claim DNA testing of evidence would exonerate him of the murder. Brian Gann, News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Well, the Houston area death toll from Hurricane Beryl is at 11. 3 people were killed by falling trees, including 2 in their homes and 1 on a tractor clearing debris. 2 people drowned in their cars, including a Houston Police Department employee. Other deaths in southeast Texas brings Beryl's total to 18. Meanwhile, over 53,000 people remain without power in the Houston area. Well, a country singer speaking out after her performance at MLB's Home Run Derby received poor reviews on social media.
Country singer Ingrid Andress says she was drunk during her performance of the national anthem during MLB's Home Run Derby on Monday. The 32-year-old posting on her social media that she will be checking into a rehab facility to get the help she needs, adding, quote, "That was not me last night. I apologize to MLB, all the fans, and this country I love so much for that rendition." Her performance getting bad reviews online, with one user calling it, quote, "one of the worst national anthems I think I've ever heard in my whole life." Tony Genualdo, Fox News.
It is 8:07, news at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Traffic and weather coming up.
San Antonio's first news, Randy Beamer in studio this morning. He'll also join us tomorrow and on Friday. Big part of our Republican National Convention coverage, and he will continue to be a big part of our Decision 2024 coverage. And as you know, on Fridays, we do Fridays with Beamer. Coming up, we will check in with national correspondent Erin Real. She has the story about how Silicon Valley is very happy that J.D. Vance is the Republican nominee for vice president. We'll dive into that next, but first, let's get you caught up on traffic and weather together. Your Weather Channel forecast: partly cloudy today with a high in the upper 90s, overnight lows in the upper 70s, 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms tomorrow. Friday, a chance of morning thunderstorms. Right now, 79 in Alamo Heights, 79 at the Pearl. It is now 80 and partly cloudy at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news. Let's check in with national correspondent Erin Real. She has a story about Silicon Valley and new vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance. And Erin, on board with us this morning is Randy Beamer. Randy, what do you have for Erin?
Well, I was wondering exactly what his connection is. I think a lot of people think of him as an author, but also what do his tech bro friends, what are they pushing for that they're maybe more likely to get with a tech bro in the White House?
Listen, just having your guy inside the White House is exciting. And this is why you have the technology industry closer to the center stage in Washington and many very enthused by Trump's pick for J.D. Vance as his running mate. So let's be clear. Silicon Valley, the tech industry as a whole, has long been this liberal bastion. California, Democratic stronghold, deeply progressive roots in San Fran. But there is this Republican contingent within tech. It has become very visible. Elon Musk, Sachs, Sean McGuire, Eric Schmidt, Mark Andreessen, billionaire Peter Thiel. Now, I bring up Peter Thiel because he has long been a backer of J.D. Vance, the individual. After Vance graduated law school from Yale in 2016, he became a principal at Mathrill Capital. That was a venture firm backed by Thiel. He then went to a Steve Case-backed firm in Washington. And then in 2019, he moved back to his home state of Ohio and formed Narya Capital. And he did it with the money from Peter Thiel, Eric Schmidt, and Mark Andreessen. So long story short, he has basically been this person who backs legislation that it serves the people he knows, the populist segment of the Rust Belt, of which he grew up in. His memoir, Hillbilly Elegy, he talks about this a lot. It's a wonderful book and also a movie. And he really supports a lot of populist bills that do not align himself with his party traditionally, things like a Biden program that provided subsidies for broadband access. He understands that this could actually add tremendous value to the people he knows lives, and which is why he backs it in spite of what his party says. He's also taken on Wall Street in certain ways. He's backed Elizabeth Warren type legislation. It is her piece of legislation. He's backed it where they want to claw back pay to bank executives when their institutions fail. This is a populist position, which tends to have a lot of support.
And Erin, you mentioned Elon Musk throwing his support and money behind Trump. Any other tech or finance firms that have made any big Trump campaign contributions?
There is another one. I have a difficult time with his name. Give me 1 second. It's an Indian name. It's Parmeshwatham, and he is a big backer. He backed actually Chamath. Let me try this. Palihapitiya. He is a former Hillary Clinton donor. I'm sorry if anyone's listening who knows this name. It's very difficult to pronounce. It's more syllables than this American mouth is familiar with. But long story short, he has put his money behind Vance as well and Trump because and all these names that I mentioned, by the way, billionaires. This is like the $45 million a month from Elon Musk. He's the richest man in the world. It's not that big, but it's an obscene amount of money. All of these people are putting their money behind Trump, and they're enthused by the Vance pick, given that it will be one of theirs closer to the White House.
Great information from national correspondent Erin Real. As we roll forward, more with Randy Beamer as we examine all angles of the Republican National Convention and the latest we're hearing on the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump that took place over the weekend, Saturday in Butler, Pennsylvania. WOAI News Time, 8:15. Just ahead of headlines, traffic, and weather together. More coming up with Randy Beamer. But first, Charity McCurdy, what stories are you following?
Well, former President Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, will headline tonight's speakers on day 3 of the RNC. A big boost for the state's tech sector as Elon Musk is bringing his ex-headquarters to Austin. And tens of thousands of Houston area residents are still without power following Hurricane Beryl. Well, the very latest coming up right now, traffic and weather together.
Your Weather Channel forecast, partly cloudy today with a high in the upper 90s, overnight low in the upper 70s, 60% chance of afternoon thunderstorms tomorrow. Friday, a chance of morning thunderstorms. Right now, 78 in Leon Valley, 77 at Stinson Field. It is partly cloudy, 80 at News Radio 1200 WOAI. San Antonio's first news, Randy Beamer, Charity McCurdy. I'm Chris Duell. Mr. T has the morning off. EJ Pacheco and Andrew Zimmel flying the Millennium Falcon. Andrew is directing our online YouTube stream. You can go to YouTube, look for 1200 WOAI. You will see Randy Beamer, Charity McCurdy, and me there live. There's a live on-air chat, a chat in real time. You can chat with us. Randy Beamer, this is all. You've done this for all your life.
It's confusing to me. But yeah, but we're not seeing Andrew Zimmel and we're not seeing EJ in the booth. Now we have these talkbacks from people who call in.
Yes.
But these guys are Gen Z. Is that right? Teenagers? I'm not sure.
I think EJ's a Gen Z. Andrew, is he also a Gen Z or is he? Okay, they're Gen Zs. Did I talk to you about this? There was a story. We did a story about 2 weeks ago. Gen Zers believe if you are 10 minutes late to work or to an appointment, you are still on time.
I'm a Gen Z then. That's awesome.
Well, and they broke it down. Baby boomers, 99% of baby boomers find that outrageous and will never accept it. But as you move into Gen X, like 70% of them think it's okay. And by the way, by the time you get to Gen Z, it's like, yeah, well, meh. Whatever.
So, Charity, are you in the middle there, or you're just on time?
I'm Gen X, and I like to be early. Otherwise, I'm frazzled.
Wow.
It throws off my game completely. Yeah.
See, I was brought up in a military family, as was Charity, as was Mr. T, and it was like if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late.
Yes.
So
if you're early, you're on time. If
Yes.
you're on time, you're late. If you're late, it's unacceptable.
Yeah. So whenever I'm late, and I am occasionally late, but when I'm late, it's like it drives me crazy. I'm in my car freaking out. Oh my God, it's 2 minutes until 4 and I'm supposed to be there
You're
at
the
4
angry
and I'm going to be there late. Yes.
Road rage. And these guys are like,
yeah, whatever,
now
dude.
text them, let them know. So, Andrew, what's your excuse? Ooh.
He's got to make that run for the breakfast tacos, you know?
Yeah, now if he was bringing breakfast tacos, he could be late, but I haven't seen a lot of breakfast tacos.
He's eating them.
Oh, yeah. He's bringing them for himself.
Yes.
Are they
Okay.
watching the convention at all? Do they know there is a convention on? Yeah, but if people are watching, they're looking next to you at EJ, who's on his phone.
And he slams it down and puts his hands in his pockets. I love
I'm
it.
sorry, I outed him as a Gen Zer.
Well, he's checking the WOAI feed, you know, making sure it's up to date, I'm sure.
That's
All
yes,
over it, yeah.
exactly. I'm sure he's just checking on us. So, all right, tonight, Randy and Charity, JD Vance. You have described him. You're not the only one, Randy, but people believe he will be the pit bull, the attack dog for Donald Trump in this
I
campaign.
think everybody expected that,
Yes.
at least until Saturday. But he also is the one who tweeted out after Saturday, making the direct connection between Biden and the assassination, and what Biden and the Democrats have said led to it. And that wasn't the unity message maybe that Trump wants now. I don't know.
I just hope he expands on how he came from calling Trump America's Hitler to loving Trump and believing in Trump to becoming Trump's running mate. Because I think that message will really resonate with the undecided voters and maybe perhaps bring them on board if they're on the fence. They're not quite sure if they want to go all in on Trump. And I think that story will be very compelling.
Well, I don't know. It seems to me the hillbilly elegy part is going to come out. And I think it was genius, that name, because to me, it appeals to both sides. It's like Redneck Rhapsody or something.
Yeah.
You would have, a very earthy blue collar part, and then the elegy, which isn't something you think of.
No, with hillbilly.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Redneck Rhapsody is available. You may, as a filmmaker, that could be your next big project.
It's an Austin band name. I've seen them open for Hillbilly.
I look forward to hearing the stylings of Redneck Rhapsody. Coming up, Joe Pags at 8:40. We'll get a preview of the Joe Pags show, and we'll check your talkbacks as well. We've been asking you about the coverage of the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Are you satisfied with what you're learning about it? Do you think there's more to it? And we're getting some reaction to the national anthem rendition that we now know the singer was drunk the other night at the Home Run Derby. We'll talk about all that coming up. WOAI News Time, 8:26.
8:32 is our time. San Antonio's first news. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Charity McCurdy. Among our top stories, it's day 3 of the RNC with a message of Make America Strong once again. And Elon Musk is bringing X to Texas. Details ahead. First, traffic and weather together every 10 minutes in mornings. Your Weather Channel forecast for this Wednesday. Partly cloudy, a high in the upper 90s. Tonight's low in the upper 70s. Right now, 80 degrees. A former GOP presidential rival, Nikki Haley, officially threw her support behind former President Trump at the RNC. Fox's Kristen Goodwin recaps day 2 with Decision 2024.
Months after ending her White House bid, former GOP presidential primary challenger Nikki Haley telling an RNC crowd,
Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period.
The former South Carolina governor who served as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations in the Trump administration was initially not invited to speak even after releasing her delegates, but that changed after the attempt on the former president's life.
President Trump asked me to speak to this convention in the name of unity.
Saying she was happy to accept. From the RNC in Milwaukee, Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
And Governor Abbott is also set to speak today at the RNC. Well, new details emerging about the assassination attempt against Trump from this past weekend. Here's Fox's Brian Yennis.
We now know that the would-be assassin was on the roof around 2 minutes before those first shots were fired at former President Trump at 6:11 p.m. Fox can confirm that rally-goers going into the event flagged local police about a suspicious person apparently acting strangely and pacing near the metal detectors, which set off a search. The question now is, when did this search begin? When was the Secret Service notified? And was it before the former president took the stage?
The FBI and Secret Service are continuing their investigation, with senators getting a briefing today. Actor Jack Black has announced that his comedy rock band Tenacious D is ending its world tour after its bandmate Kyle Gass joked on stage in Sydney about the assassination of Trump.
Happy birthday to you. Make a wish, Canada. Don't miss Trump next time.
Black wrote in a statement posted to Instagram that he was blindsided by what was said at the show on Sunday. Gass has since apologized, calling it highly inappropriate, dangerous, and a terrible mistake. Well, the White House says there's been a drop in illegal border crossings since President Biden used his emergency powers to curb asylum access. Last month, the Border Patrol recorded the lowest number of encounters since January of 2021. Crossings have dropped about 50%, with about 1,900 people a day coming over. Well, Elon Musk is moving his social media company X from San Francisco to Austin. He's also moving the headquarters of his private spaceflight company from California to South Texas, which is a huge win for the state's high-tech sector.
The space economy over the next many years is going to be a booming industry, and it cements Texas as the space capital of America.
Glenn Hammer, who heads the Texas Association of Business, expects other tech firms to follow. The move away from the Golden State was in response to a new law there, which prohibits schools from telling parents if their child starts using different pronouns in the classroom. Well, tens of thousands of Houston area residents are still sitting in stuffy darkness after Hurricane Beryl hit Texas more than a week ago. More than 53,000 CenterPoint Energy customers are still in the dark. CenterPoint says power should be restored to all customers by Friday. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court has ordered a stay of execution for a Texas death row inmate. Stephen Pickering reports.
47-year-old Ruben Gutierrez was scheduled to be put to death Tuesday night for the murder of 85-year-old Estelastica Harrison in Brownsville in 1998. Just 20 minutes before the execution was scheduled to start, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a stay. It will remain in effect until the justices decide whether they should review his appeal request. Attorneys for Gutierrez say DNA tests on evidence would help prove he was not responsible for the fatal stabbing. A spokesperson for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice says Gutierrez appeared shocked by the reprieve and prayed with a prison chaplain after the announcement.
Well, a 9-year-old San Antonio boy is in the running for the best mullet in America. Avery Quiroz has entered the kids category of the USA Mullet Championship. Avery has been growing his mullet for 2 years and calls it the Texas Waterfall. First round voting ends today. You can show your support for Avery at mulletchamp.com. The annual contest supports the nonprofit Jared Allen's Homes for Wounded Warriors, which provides accessible mortgage-free homes to wounded veterans. It is 8:37. Traffic and weather together in a minute, but first, to check of your money and the world of business, we welcome in Ed Corey live at the Bloomberg News Desk. All right, thanks, Ed. News at the top and bottom of every hour, along with breaking news as it happens. I'm Charity McCurdy. Here's traffic and weather.
San Antonio's first news, Randy Beamer in studio, Charity McCurdy. I'm Chris Duell, Mr. T with the day off. In a moment, we're going to hear from you, your talkbacks. But first, let's check in with a man who is keeping a very close eye on the Republican National Convention, the one and only Joe Pags. Good morning, Joe. Don't miss the Joe Pag Show, 5 o'clock this afternoon, every weekday, 5 to 8 p.m. right here on 1200 WOAI. On our Talkback feature on the free iHeartRadio app, we were asking you earlier this morning, are you satisfied with the facts, the information you're learning about the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump? So we're getting reaction on that. We're also getting reaction on Ingrid Andress and the aftermath of her abysmal national anthem performance at the Home Run Derby. She now admits she was drunk during the national anthem, and she says she's going to rehab. She's going anti-Amy Winehouse on that. Let's check out the talkbacks, and we will react to them. I think we have Walter first. Let's listen to Walter. Of course, Walter's talking about the head of the Secret Service, and he makes a great point. You know, a lot of us, most of America, the vast majority of America, breathing a sigh of relief that the president was not mortally injured, even though he was grazed. But that former fire chief lost his life.
It's so sad. And she said the other day, if you didn't hear it, Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle, that building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point, and so there's a safety factor would be considered. We wouldn't want to put somebody up on the sloped roof, so the decision was made to secure the building from the inside, and that's just amazing to most people.
It really is. And the fact that it seems like attendees at the rally spotted that gunman on the roof before police. And that's a combination of Secret Service and local police. Again, it just seems like a major communication breakdown took place.
Let's listen to another talkback. This one is from Bell. Bell with some strong opinions there. Let's go to the national anthem performance, Randy, of Ingrid Andress. Even if you're drunk, if you're 32 years old, she's a country singer, she's a performer, she's performed before. Don't you, like a moment before you go out there, preferably 10 minutes or 30 minutes, but don't you say, hey, I can't do it. And you can tell them I'm sick, I can't do it, and decline. What was she thinking?
I would think so, although, you know, she just brought up there the agent. There are those of us who didn't know who Ingrid Andress was, or that there was even a home run derby. So there could be the point made that it's a conspiracy, that she did this only to get attention.
Ooh.
She'll have the backstory now that she can come on, you know, Colbert or whoever and talk about her rehab and that she's better now and her new album's out. I don't know. Charity, did you know who she was?
I did not whatsoever. Apparently 4-time Grammy nominated artist. Go figure. But I guess she has a history of alcohol abuse. If she's going to rehab, this is not a one-time thing. That's what that move suggests to me. But I took issue with her closing line and her social media apology. She apologized to Major League Baseball, the fans in this country, for that horrible rendition. But then she ends it, I'll let y'all know how rehab is. I hear it's super fun.
Ooh.
That sounds like she's taking it seriously.
Yeah, that doesn't sound remorseful.
Yeah.
That's not a great way to end that social media post.
Well, it could be a good country song down the road, not
Ooh.
to make light of alcoholism at all, because I know people who have been destroyed by that. But, something is going to come out of this good for her, I think.
And maybe a Dr. Phil appearance as well when she goes. And I think I would love if she comes out of rehab and she's all good. I'd love to see her do the national anthem and nail it. Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh, that's going to be in the second song in the album. And I bet there could be Ingrid Andress Night at some baseball game.
Or karaoke bars.
Or yeah, judging a bikini contest or something. I mean, I'm thinking that's where her next offer might come from. Who knows?
All right. Quick break. We'll get you caught up on headlines, traffic, weather, and more. WOAI News Time, 8:47.